Okay, so I think we have everyone in the room for the moment. I just want to say good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, which is the King's Awards for Enterprise launch. I am delighted to be joined by the Lord Lieutenant of Hertfordshire, Robert Voss, who will be speaking very shortly. Just so you are all aware, we will be recording the webinar. So if you don't want to be featured on this, then please do turn off your camera. Please save any questions to the end, or you can pop them into the chat function and they will be picked up during the Q&A session. My name is Georgia and I will be hosting today's webinar. So without further ado, I am going to pass you to the HM Lord Lieutenant of Hertfordshire, Robert Voss, who will give a brief introduction about the King's Awards for Enterprise.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Georgia. So good morning, everybody, and delighted that so many have joined us this morning, and a welcome to Will from the King's Awards office. I have to get used to saying the King's Award. I even introduced myself yesterday at a meeting as Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant, so I'm still getting used to it, and to Jonathan and Diane, who are going to talk later. I'll be very brief. We're launching the King's Award for Enterprise, but actually we're not really launching. It's a revamp or a rename of the existing award scheme, which was the Queen's Award. And I'm very proud because Hertfordshire does exceptionally well. The numbers, which may come up again, perhaps in Will's presentation, there are, I believe, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, about 6.5 million registered businesses in the UK. And there were something like 149 winners of the King's Award this year. So it is a very, very special award. I'm presenting it, I often say to people... Sorry. When I'm presenting it, I often say to people that this is probably the most prestigious business award available throughout the world. And I do genuinely mean that. As I say, I'm very proud that Hertfordshire has done traditionally very well in these awards. With the exception of last year, where we had a little bit of a blip, we've been one of, if not the top non-metropolitan counties in the whole of the UK. And that was again the same situation this year with 6 winners, which, although sounds small, of course, out of 149 throughout the whole of the UK is very significant. So I'm very proud that we are right at the top of the tree. We are a very entrepreneurial county. We have well over 100,000 registered businesses in Hertfordshire. Some large ones, and of course mostly SMEs. And I'm hoping that with events like this, people will be encouraged to carry on applying, whether it's onerous or not. And I've heard some applicants and winners say it is onerous, and some said no, it was very easy. I think virtually all have said it's been a very cathartic exercise and taught them a lot about their own business. And perhaps you'll hear that from the 2 winners who are going to follow on. So I'm very keen that we do, as I say, carry on being one of the top counties, or if not the top county in the country. We have some fantastic businesses here. And the one thing that people often say to me is, well, I'm not big enough. Well, if I tell you I presented to one company with 3 employees, as well as one company with many thousands of employees, it is open to everybody. And winners come from all sectors. And I'm sure Will perhaps give us some of the numbers a bit later on. So I think that's probably all you need to hear from me. It's more important to hear from those who've actually been involved, who've won it, and who know how the whole process works far better than I do. So, Georgia, I don't know if you want to come, if I'm coming back to you, or if I now hand over to Will from the King's Award Office.
Yes, thank you very much. So we will now hear from Will Arndt, who is from the King's Awards Office, and he will just briefly speak about how you can enter and get involved. So please, over to Will.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was just struggling to come off mute there. It's an absolute delight to speak to everyone in Hertfordshire today, and thank you to Robert and everyone in Hertfordshire for hosting this event. We are immensely grateful in the King's Awards Office. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Will. I am the Deputy Head of the King's Awards Office, and I have been for just over a year now, and have been having a wonderful time. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the eligibility criteria and the application process for the awards. So I'll share some slides, if that's all right. Bear with me while I just... There we go. Share. Here we are. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Fantastic stuff. So lovely. So, as Robert mentioned, the King's Awards is a rebrand of the formerly called Queen's Awards for Enterprise. The scheme has been going since 1965. It was originally preconceived by the Duke of Edinburgh and Harold Wilson, and we've gone through many different guises over the years until finally this latest change to the King's Awards for Enterprise. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the 4 categories, the eligibility criteria and the process, and maybe give you some tips and tricks about applying. So before we go into the 4 categories, the basic eligibility criteria that any organisation must have to be an entrant is they must, 1, be based in the UK. They must, 2, have a good continuous compliance record with HMRC and also other government departments. So, for example, imagine the Health and Safety Executive, DEFRA, if you're doing something to do with water per se, or the Serious Fraud Office, any government department essentially you can think of, you have to have a relatively good compliance record with. You also need to be a self-contained enterprise. So what that means essentially is you have an isolated management structure. So you can be owned by another organization. The example I use in terms of like my own previous experience of an organization like that is Tesco Family Dining, which was obviously created in Hertfordshire, or Tesco was created in Hertfordshire, and then Tesco, the actual supermarket. So Tesco Family Dining, who runs the cafes in all of the Tesco stores, they have a separate isolated management structure to Tesco, so they can apply as their own separate entity. They haven't yet, we hope they do. So another eligibility criteria, and it's one of the primary criteria that cross-cut across all 4 categories, is that you must have at least 2 full-time UK employees or part-time equivalents. And finally, you must demonstrate strong corporate social responsibility or environmental social governance. Now, I'd like to give you a little bit, before I go into the individual categories, I'd like to give you a little bit of colour around the award cycle, as it's quite useful to kind of understand what the assessment process is and talk a little bit about the form. So we opened for applications on the 6th of May, the day of the coronation, and we will be closing for applications on the 12th of September. So we have a nice period of time there over the summer months where applicants are able to complete the online application form. And there'll be a link to where you can find that form later in the slides. So between May, September, applicants are all applying. They're speaking to the King's Awards office or to ask any questions, or maybe their local lieutenancy as well, so Hertfordshire Lieutenancy for yourselves, until the 12th of September when applications close. Then we go straight into the assessment period. So for each of the 2 categories, we have 2 different external assessing companies who mark each of the respective categories. So they go through a first assessment, a second assessment by 2 assessors. They are then moderated, and that then goes into and then from that moderation the shortlist is created. So during that time, it's also worth saying that the assessors come to the King's Awards office with any questions or queries they may have about an individual applicant's question. So it may be something to do with their environmental social governance, and say, oh, they mentioned something here but they didn't have they didn't provide too much detail. Would you be able to ask them this? We then, as the King's Awards office, then go to yourselves, the businesses, ask that question and get a response, and then feed that back to the assessors. I really want to highlight that because actually throughout the whole process, if there are any areas where there may be something that the assessors want to probe, or the panel judges, or something similar, we do try and ask as much as we can. We're very much in the business of trying to get as many people over the line as we can. Once the assessment process finishes in October and the shortlist is created, we then go into the due diligence stage and also the verification of financial figures for both the international trade and the innovation categories. I'll speak a little bit more about that later. Also, it's worth saying, after the verification of figures are checked, more questions may ensue. Then in January, we have 4 judging panels, and these are comprised of the permanent secretary of the relevant civil service department relating to the category. And then they are also made up of representatives from business all over the country, so really quite eminent people and experts in their field. And they go down line by line, looking at each application, talking about what they like, what they would like to hear more of, and things like that, and start deciding the final list.
Will, sorry to interrupt. I don't think your slides are moving on.
Oh, are they not?
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
That's
What I
okay.
will do is, so did everyone see this one?
No, I don't think so.
Fabulous. Well, so the basic eligibility criteria, which I just covered, be based in the UK, good compliance with HMRC, be a self-contained enterprise, have at least 2 UK employees or part-time equivalents, and demonstrate good CSR or ESG. Going back to the awards cycle. So we've just covered this bit here. So the application period, and then the initial assessment process, and then we go to due diligence and the verification of financial figures, which I just touched on. And we're now on judging panels. So each of the 4 judging panels for each of the category go through each application line by line and decide what they really like, what they don't like, and start sifting out who is going to be the final winners list. Once that is done for the individual categories, the final panel, called the Prime Minister's Advisory Committee, come together, and they comprise of, again, all of the panel chairs from across all of the judging panels, which are the permanent secretaries. Another permanent secretary chairs the panel, and then there are a number of incredibly eminent independent panelists also. So, for example, the former chairman of Burberry, the chair of the TUC, various incredibly qualified people to moderate the final list. Once that is done, we then get to the final clearances. So the list of applicants is sent to number 10 for clearance by the Prime Minister. And once that is done, the final list then gets sent to His Majesty the King for approval. We then go into a period where winners and unsuccessful applicants are announced before we announce the recipients of the round on the 6th of May. It was this year the 21st of April, which was Her Majesty the Queen's birthday. However, in light of our new change to the King's Award, our announcement day is shifting to the 6th of May, which is obviously the anniversary of the coronation. So now I'd like to move into the individual categories and to talk a little bit about the specific eligibility criteria for each of these ones. So we'll start for innovation. So to apply for innovation, you must have an innovation that has not been sold before and have had your innovation available on the market for at least 2 years. You need to have recovered all of the investments you've made in your innovation, or show that the innovation will recover its full costs in future. And another thing we've changed this year slightly is, instead of asking applicants to either provide 2 or 5 years of financial figures, we are now making this category slightly more relaxed and saying that people can apply for 2 up until 5. So you can apply for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years and 5 years. And that's very much down to you to decide sort of how strong your growth is and your commercial success surrounding your innovation. So your innovation should be in one of the following categories: an invention, design or production of goods, a performance of services, marketing and distribution, or after-sales support of goods or services. It's really important in this category that you outline the situation which led to your innovation. So you were in a situation where you felt like there was a need and you decided to capitalize on it. It's also really important in this category to talk about the challenges you've overcome. Actually, you know, it's been an incredibly difficult few years for organizations, as there's been quite a lot of change, and all of the, and you know, the big COVID word was definitely disruptive. You know, it's really important to talk about the challenges that you've overcome, because actually it shows your agility, it shows your resilience, and it shows that you're able to stand the test of time. It's also really important to say why your innovation is unique, what sets you apart from other competitors, your sector, or wider business more generally. We really want to see how you are being exceptional. And then also, of course, with any organization, we have to think about the service users or the customers. So how your innovation is benefiting your business, your customer, or anyone else who is affected by your innovation. Moving on, I will move on to international trade. Now, international trade is probably what I would call our most popular category. So for this category, you will need to have made a minimum of £100,000 in overseas sales in the first year of your entry and shown year-on-year growth. You can apply either for a 3-year or a 6-year award, and both of these, the focus of this category is growth and growth in turnover generally. For 3 years, we want to see steep growth, and for 6 years, we want to see strong growth, but steady and maybe not as steep a curve if you were to outline it on a graph than you would with the other categories. And then with this growth, you must prove that your organization has achieved outstanding growth in overseas earnings relative to your business size and sector. Now, I will say, and I will head everyone up because everyone always asks, can you put a figure on growth? Unfortunately, I can't, because the King's Awards for Enterprise is open to every single sector and businesses from 2 full-time employees right up to big multinational organizations. It's very hard to put a figure on growth. What we do is we look at the application, or the assessors look at the application, I should say, and we assess you against you and your growth. So it's really important to talk about your challenges. It's really important to talk about your growth, because we do assess you and your organization in context of itself. Yes, with a bit of context from the wider sector that you are in, but generally you are assessed against yourself. So another tip is really highlighting your story. So why penetration of a particular market is an achievement. Essentially, why, say, if you've broken into the European market or the American market, you know, why is that an achievement for you and your sector? Are you the first? Are you the leading? Are you the fastest growing UK exporter in this market? Are really good questions you should be asking yourself when you're filling out the application form. It's also really important to say why your performance is better than that of your competitors. Really outline what your USP is. I cannot say this enough across all of the categories. And then again, it's really important to outline the challenges that have affected your trade and how you have overcome them. The next category is promoting opportunity through social mobility. So to apply for the Promoting Opportunity Award, you must have supported people from disadvantaged backgrounds in improving their job skills and chances of finding work. So a disadvantaged background could be someone such as a prison leaver, or a person of colour, or someone under the Equalities 2010 Act. So it's always worth having a good look at that when you're thinking about an application and what you're doing. So you have to include doing one or more of the following for at least 2 years: providing work experience or careers advice, mentoring, offering interviews and job related training, and making sure your recruitment process is open to everyone. This award is open to organisations engaged in enterprise who are positively supporting social mobility. And it's really worth saying the award is not aimed at those whose core purpose is to improve social mobility. Not-for-profit businesses, social enterprises, and charities are welcome to apply. If you're a training provider or an educational organisation, you can only apply if you are submitting a joint application with a business, or if you have a social mobility initiative for your own workforce or employees. For example, if you were a university per se, your core purpose obviously is improving the social mobility of the students in your charge. However, if you were doing a scheme for your staff, whether that be, you know, the HR department, the finance department, anyone who's in sort of the corporate services area or back office, and you were doing something to promote social mobility and in that part of the business, you absolutely would be eligible to apply. Moving on to the final category, sustainable development. To apply for Sustainable Development Award, you must show how you've achieved outstanding sustainable development for more than 2 years, and you must provide evidence of the benefits of positive outcomes of your actions or interventions. If you have a sustainable product or approach, you must demonstrate a sustainable business strategy also. In the Sustainable Development application, you may want to tell us about any specific successes, such as developing a new innovative product or process delivering environmental benefits, or seeing sustainable development outcomes embedded in your organisation, supply chain, or community. It's also really important to demonstrate that your company and/or senior decision makers are leading the way in your sector or community and how they have overcome important challenges that are specific to your sector. In terms of your story and what you should highlight, you should really highlight what you are doing to be sustainable, in particular compared to your competitors. How this gives the assessors a real picture of what the sector is like. All of the assessors do have an awareness across a variety of different sectors, but they are not always experts in your specific sector. So that's really important to bear in mind as well across all 4 categories. So it's really important to sort of give that colour. And then also how you are leading the way and influencing others to be more sustainable. So for an example of that is how you're influencing partners upstream and downstream, for example, in your production process to make them more sustainable and make sure that actually all of your activities and all of your partners are minimizing what they can. Restore, recycle, regenerate, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are really key in these applications. We do actually link them on the application form. So it's really important to have a look at those there, because there's about 18 of them. Some of them cover humanitarian aspects of sustainability, and some cover the ecological aspects. And you're more than welcome to sort of focus on one. If you're doing something in a more humanitarian space, absolutely focus on one, but it's really important that you show a good awareness and at least good compliance in the ecological space as well. Now, more general tips for all of you. So the first thing to do, and I couldn't recommend this more, is signing up for an account on the application form or on the application portal. But first checking your eligibility criteria online. So what I've just covered in the previous few slides, there's a slightly broader amount of information on our website. So it's really worth going through there and just sort of doing a tick list and saying, am I all of these things? Yes, I am. Fantastic. We also, at the beginning of the application process, to save wasting people's time, have a eligibility questionnaire. So it only takes a couple of minutes, literally 2 minutes. It's super short, just to make sure that we're not wasting everyone's time by having them complete an application form, which does take a decent amount of time, and then they'll just be sifted out very quickly. So really important to do that. And then what you do once you've done the eligibility questionnaire on the portal is that will give you access to PDFs of the application form. Now, it's really important, and I will really highlight this because it happens every year and we really don't want it to happen. Do not complete the application form on the PDF. We only accept submissions through the portal itself. It's a smart form. If you're having issues with the form, get in touch with us at the King's Awards office and we will happily help it out, because it may be a system issue that others are experiencing. So it's really important to let us know. But please, please, please do not handwrite it and think you can email it in, because we have a couple of applicants each year who get bitterly disappointed after putting in an exceptional amount of work because they've not completed the online form. Another thing to be really clear on, and I touched on this briefly just now, is use plain English, avoid jargon at all costs. Like I say, the assessors have a great deal of experience across multiple sectors each. However, they may not be an absolute expert in your specific sector. So trying to take that jargon out and using plain English makes it a lot easier for them to mark or to assess your applications. Provide evidence. Now, this is really key. If you make a statement, it is so important that you back it up. We will ask you about it, but it's always better to be front-footed with it. You know, and also another side note is to probably make sure if you're putting something in your application form, it's definitely a good idea to bear in mind how up to date your website and your social media are and what you've got on there, because assessors will definitely have a look at websites and social media just to see if they can verify the claims that you make on the application form. Another really important thing is telling your own story. You know your organisations better than anyone else, and you are some of the best champions for your organisation. We want to hear your story, and the story is so key. At this time of year, we spend a lot of time going through feedback that all unsuccessful applicants are provided, and one of the key things that we get in the feedback is that people are not always telling their story. So it's really important to tell your story, and that's really what the assessors want to hear. And it sort of relates back to the challenges point. We want to see the bumps in the road. We want to see how you've overcome them, because it really provides a lot of colour about why you guys are so special and why your organisation is deserving of this incredibly prestigious award. Another really important tip is to add 2 or more collaborators to your online application account. You can do that if say it's you who's starting the application form. You can add people to your account once you've gone through the initial stages. The reason why we ask for multiple applications is, as we all know, people have aspirations and they move on to new roles and they leave. We do not want orphaned accounts, because it makes it really hard for us to get in contact with you if we're asking an assessor query, or if you're successful or unsuccessful and things like that. We don't want you to get lost. So make sure there's multiple people there so they can work on the application with you. And it is very much worth saying, you know, these application forms cover most areas of your organization, so you will need in many cases to reach out a hand to someone in finance or to someone in marketing or anything like that and ask them for help. Try and make it as collaborative as possible, because again, they probably know their area of the business sometimes better than you yourself do. Now, I can't say this enough as well. Allow sufficient time. Obviously, applications are open now and they close on the 12th of September. It's so important that you get started as early as possible, because there are a proportion of people each year who get unfortunately timed out. And unfortunately, this is a really tight assessment period. So we are unable to get, you know, reopen things unless it's a really extenuating circumstance. So start early, try and get it done as soon as possible. Try and have it checked. You know, you don't have to submit it once you've completed the form. That's really important to say as well. You can just complete the form, leave it, go away on holiday or whatever it may be that you're doing, and come back and have a look and a double check with some fresh eyes. And as I mentioned earlier on this slide, provide evidence. Quantitative and qualitative evidence to support any claims you make is so important. And also bear in mind, you are able to upload 3 documents to your account, which can provide some more colour. Also, it's worth mentioning in your application form, if there is something that you want to reference but maybe don't have the word count, you can signpost in that in your answer where on these additional documents more information is included. It's really important to signpost, because yes, if you do upload additional documents, the assessors will absolutely try to look at them, but there are things they may miss. So please, please, please do signpost if you're putting something in the extra materials section. Now, finally, moving on to how to apply. So pretty much all UK businesses, including non-profits, can apply. The application process is free, with the caveat of the international trade and innovation categories. As I mentioned earlier, there is the verification of financial figures stage, which is where we ask people to provide verified accounts by an accountant. That may incur a cost, but that depends very much on the accountant that you work with or your organization works with. So it's just worth bearing that in mind. There may be a cost for that. If you work with one of the larger accountancy firms, they can be a little bit funny about that in terms of providing verified figures, but just get in touch with the King's Awards office and say that you're with these people once we get to that stage, and we will be able to deal with that then. All applications, as I said, must be made online. And something that's really important, and I will go into this, touching this as well, is you can apply for more than one category. So this year we had one double award winner. Last year, I believe we had 7. It's a really exclusive club. So if you think we had 149 recipients this year and we had one double award winner, that's a massive coup. So we'd really encourage people to apply for more than one category if they think that's right for them. And it's really important as well to consider, actually, dependent on the thing you want to showcase in your application, maybe you want to partner up with another organization and submit a joint application. What happens in that situation is you can apply, both organizations submit separate applications, but they cross-reference each other on those applications. So for example, say if it were in the development of a product, someone was more involved with the development and the design, and the others were more involved with the distribution, you would be able to sort of show that product journey and life cycle between each other and how you're working together. We really want to promote good collaboration between organizations. To reiterate again, the application process for the King's Awards for Enterprise open on the 6th of May and close on the 12th of September. I've just noticed a cheeky lurking Queen's Awards there, and I do apologise. And then finally, the eligibility criteria, which I covered, and more information on how to apply is available at the website below. I will share a more expansive slide deck with you all with some more contextual information after this, just so you have access to it and it's a resource for your application period. Finally, it's worth saying, do come and speak to the King's Awards office. We're a small team of 4, a small team of 4. So there's a 1 in 4 chance you'll get through to me. So you can either email us at kingsawards@bays.gov.uk. You can either telephone us on 0207 215 6880. You can find out more information about the King's Awards by going onto our website or following us on social media. We have at the King's Awards for Twitter, and then we also have the King's Awards for Enterprise LinkedIn page. I would definitely say go follow us on that, because we provide lots of information about previous applicants who've done amazingly over the years, and it's a really good place for different updates and things like that. Another thing I'll quickly touch on, because it's just popped into my mind in terms of tips and tricks, do sign up for notifications when you sign up for an account, because it will give you a good countdown as and when the cycle is moving, so or the application period is coming to the end. So like a 4-week notification, 3, 2, 1, and then to make sure that you're on top of your application. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I'll be quiet now, and I'll hand back.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Will. Some really important key tips there. So hopefully you were all able to make a note of that. And as Will mentioned, we will be sharing the slides with you all after the webinar, as well as those contact details that was on the final slide. So moving on, I am delighted to welcome 2 past winners of these awards. I will just start off by introducing Jonathan Kane, who is the CEO of Kane International, who will be saying a few words about why you should enter, how it's impacted his business. So over to you, Jonathan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Georgia, and thank you to Will and to the Lord Lieutenant for explaining why and how it works. My name is Jonathan Kane. I'm not going to keep you long. My business is Kane International. My colleague Jonathan Hoole is also on the call, and there's a reason that you'll find out momentarily. We design and make test equipment here in Welwyn Garden City for heating engineers and engine technicians worldwide. Our products stop them killing you and us by accident. We're a 60-year-old business. We only recently applied, one time only, for the Innovation Award that you heard about. Ironically, for a company that makes things, it wasn't for product, but it was for our after-sales service program that we've called Kane Care. And I'd like to suggest to you 5 reasons why it's good to enter this award. The first reason, which may sound a bit weird, is it's not the Oscars. By which I mean, it's the only award I know that's based on merit that you can apply for as a business. There is no reference to other businesses. There are no losers, there are only winners. And I think that's a very, very important point to make, because I find that process can be very frustrating. The second is that I believe it sincerely confirms to your team what your journey is, what your mission is. If you win it, it really hits home to them, especially when, and I know this sounds a bit trite and a bit superficial, but it's very important, especially when the Lord Lieutenant comes in person to present your award in their uniform. It's a signal to your team, whether large or small, that you've done something significant. You and I and we live with this on a daily basis, but for many people, it's just part of what they do, and they don't understand the significance of it until that moment where, if you are able to do that, you receive a visit and you receive the award. The third benefit I see, it's obvious, it's about staff, about the people that you employ. It's a great advertisement, A, for your existing staff as to reasons why to stay with the business, and B, to new people who have yet to join your company. Especially like Kane, if you're not particularly well known in the greater Hertfordshire community. To our customers, we're deeply important, but to people who live around us and near us, that doesn't necessarily mean anything when there are very large brands that they could go and work for, either in Hertfordshire or, for example, in London, which is just 30 minutes away by train. We know it's a seller's market for great applicants, and the Queen and the King's Award helps us identify ourselves as a company they should take seriously when looking at recruitment and looking at applying for a job. Don't underestimate, for the fourth reason, the benefit to your stakeholders. In particular, the impact on, for example, your lenders, whether it's a bank or angel investors, your friends and family who have no doubt had to listen to your journey for many years, or as you set up your business and get going. It's incredibly important that they understand that this is a validation of what it is that you're doing, and also to your suppliers, who otherwise you are just one of their customers. This gives them an insight into your journey and why you are important to your suppliers. And I suppose finally, and perhaps most obviously, both to customers and your bottom line, we've seen a 20% growth in our service revenue, thanks to the Kane Care publicity that we've been able to give it. And we've won new sales worldwide, which is one of our mantras, which is to substantially grow our business internationally. Even though we didn't apply for the international award, it's helped us win business because customers can see the journey that we're on, because customers can trust us, which is the premise of what most of us in business are trying to do. We're trying to persuade our customers that they can trust us and not somebody else. So in summary, in hindsight, I wish we'd done it sooner. There's no doubt about it. It is a very challenging application process, and perhaps that's why we didn't do it sooner. I believe had we done it sooner, we would probably still have won the award. As I said earlier, it is not about who you're competing with to win it. It is based on merit. It took my colleague Jonathan a long time to prepare for this. and it does absorb time. And it took a lot of my time to review the submission before we posted it, because obviously it needs to be right. You get one chance at this. Obviously you can go again the next year, but whilst you're doing it, you get the one chance. And we knew that we were going to be thoroughly assessed. And actually that was a good thing, that was an opportunity, not a problem. It's good to know that other people are looking at your business and seeing whether what you're saying stacks up. So it does take time, it does take attention to detail, but it is worth it in every sense of the word. And let's not deny it, it is a great honor to be invited to Buckingham Palace to meet members of the royal family and to have a glass of champagne. So don't underestimate that either. So in all, I've given you what I hope are 5 reasons as to why it's worthwhile doing. But this is a very quick call. If you have questions, you can route them through Georgia, and I'd be very happy, myself or Jonathan would be very happy to answer them if they're specifically about what I've been speaking about. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much for that, Jonathan. And thank you for offering that. As Jonathan said, if you have any questions specifically for him, please do send them across to myself and I will make sure that they get to both Jonathan and Jonathan. So next up, we have our second past winner of these awards. So I'd like to introduce Diane Lee, who is the Managing Director of DLRC. So please, over to you, Diane.
Thank you, Georgia, and thank you, Robert, for inviting me to come along and speak again on one of your meetings where you're trying to encourage people to apply for one of the awards. I do have some slides, so I'll just share them because that just will keep me on track. We have applied for Queen's Awards twice. And we are planning to apply for a King's Award as soon as we have the right numbers. We've gone for the international trade category in the past, having had pretty significant growth in international markets. But I think if we go again, possibly this year, we have an even stronger story to go for it. And if you do have a strong story, then that makes the whole process so much easier. I think one of the big advantages, go on, people can share that. So just to give you an idea of what we do first, we do regulatory affairs consultancy. So we work with clients and we interact with health authorities. We have global services, so we work in Europe, the US and international markets. We have clients in the US, Australia, China, Turkey. They perhaps bringing products to the UK and Europe. And then we have European clients and UK clients who are going to the US, Japan and other markets. So it really is a global business that we're in. Demographically, it's primarily a female profession, not exclusively, but there are a lot of women who work in regulatory affairs. And the company, our company is about 70% female. As far as awards go, we've won local business awards and we've won individual awards, but we've won 2 Queen's Awards for Enterprise, and these were in 2017 and in 2021. And really, the benefits of winning the award, it is globally recognised. These are pictures of our team, and when we met the Queen, we were in San Diego for a meeting, and we've taken our pictures of our award and spoken to people in all across the US, in Europe specifically, particularly across Germany, and it really does demonstrate. Every time we go, people are interested. People come up and want to. They ask about the Queen's Awards. It's really a conversation opener a lot of the time, and that's important when you're trying to drum up new business. And it really is a massive talking point for interviewees. I don't think I've ever interviewed somebody who hasn't asked about the award, and they usually say, "Did you meet the Queen?" And when you can say, "Yes, I met the Queen," and in the future, "Yes, I met the King," that is it just makes the whole conversation take a completely different turn, and a very positive one. So I totally agree with Jonathan. You know, it makes a huge difference to a company. When people say why they want to apply to work with us, one of the things that always comes up is you're an award-winning company and we want to work for an award-winning company. And the other thing, you know, really internally, it's a huge cause for celebration. And these are pictures from, I think it was from our first award, and Robert is wearing his very, very nice uniform. Sadly, I think he was let down by his driver the second time we won an award, and we just had to put up with a very smart suit instead, because he couldn't drive with spurs on. But it was a fantastic, both times it was a fantastic event. It brought everybody together. It really makes your team feel special to have the visit and the award handed over and presented, and you know, to actually have a reason to come together, because as a business we work in a hybrid way. We have people who are all over the country. We even have 3 people working for the UK business who now actually live in mainland Europe, but this is a reason to get everybody together, and we sometimes need a reason to get everybody together. You know, that is a valid reason, and you know, this is just a fantastic way to do it, and to make everyone feel very special. So as far as the actual, I'll stop sharing. As far as the actual application process is concerned, you know, when you do have a good story, it's much easier. But do be aware, you know, if you go for international trade, for example, you'll be asked about, you know, how you did it. If you were just lucky, you might not have a story there, but you have to have done something so that you can demonstrate that, you know, well, we did this, and this is why we have this fantastic international trade. And sometimes I think when, especially if you're a small business, you do things, you don't record things because you think, oh, well, you know, we're working hard enough to get all of this actually done, and you don't record things. So if you do something that's good, then write it down, make a note of it somewhere, have a spreadsheet that, you know, records all the things that you've done that that you think might be useful in supporting, as Will was saying, supporting your claims in your application for an award, because it's very easy to do lots of fantastic things and then forget about it and not remember the details. So my tip would be to, you know, over the years, if you're thinking about going for one of these awards, to actually write these things down somewhere. You know, just it'll ping your mind, say, oh, you need to record this, because when you're thinking back, all those things are going to be very useful for your application. I think that's all I really wanted to say today, because it's very much like Jonathan said. You know, it's just an extremely positive thing to have.
Thank you very much indeed, Diane, and apologies to everybody for being late. I'm John Woodruff, Head of International Trading Policy, Computer Problems. Huge thanks to Georgia for filling in. I know she's done an excellent job on that one, so apologies again, everyone. So time is moving on rapidly, as I say, and sorry again for me being late. Questions and answers time now, please. Has anybody got any questions for anybody who's spoken, or indeed anybody here regarding the awards? Any hands up at all? I can't see any. I've got nothing in the chat. No questions from anyone. Okay.
Hi, John. It's Andy Welsh here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, hi. I've just got a question that's okay to the existing awardees. I applied last year and didn't get through, unfortunately. I thought with the innovative products we've got, we would get through to the sort of the first stage. We didn't. Looking forward to applying again. I think we've got a stronger story. I just wondered if there's any further support that the Chamber of Commerce or people can help us on to validate the quality of the work that we're putting forward.
Okay, well, I have an answer to that, but would you like to come in and say a few words to that one, and then I'll come in?
Hi there. I'm having a bit of an issue with my camera, so won't be able to say. But all my main bit of advice would be to reiterate in terms of coming to the King's Awards office. We are able to help. Obviously, we can't write the application for you, but all of us are on the helpline. So one person I'll showcase in particular, my colleague Dennis, is incredibly helpful with getting with providing advice to applicants. So you know, do get in touch with the King's Awards office. I can't necessarily speak to the offer from Hertfordshire Chambers of Commerce, but can really sort of highlight our offer.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Thank you, Will.
If I can just add to that, sorry to interrupt, but at the lieutenancy, we have a list. We are in touch with previous winners going back a number of years, all of whom, bar none, are very happy to talk to applicants the way that Jonathan and Diane have. So by all means, get in touch with the lieutenancy office, and we will put you in touch with a winner from previous years who might be able to help.
Thank you again.
That's fantastic.
Andy, I'm assuming that you also got some feedback from the lieutenant's, not the lieutenancy office, the King's Award office, because when we've not been successful, and we haven't always been successful, we've always had some really useful feedback.
I got an email saying, please bear with us and don't ask for feedback until April the following year, which has just gone by. So that email has gone, and I hope to receive some information soon. But yeah, thank you.
Hi there, Andy. Just to jump in there, your feedback should be available currently. If you log on to the application system, it should be there for you.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Robert, as well, for coming and mentioning the lieutenancy officer. I was going to mention that, but from our point of view, I was going to say at the end, but I might as well say it now. We do have a workshop focused entirely on the King's Awards for Enterprise. Note for your diaries, that's on the 18th of July. It's free. It's at Brocket Hall, 10:30 to 12:30. We will be there along with others, including, I'll introduce now, Chris and Faye from Corona Awards, who are Hertfordshire Chamber members, and they are experts in writing award-winning award offers or applications, if you like. And they say will be there at Brocket Hall, and they're happy to offer advice and help, even a quick chat to chamber members, etc. And their website, if you want it, is www.coronaawards.com. And I say they will be at the workshop on Tuesday the 18th. So that's some of the help that we can give, along with all the help from the room and everyone else that's been mentioned. I hope that answers your question. Andy, you've had your hand up very patiently for a few minutes. Over to you.
No, that was me. Sorry, I'm just lowering my hand now. Sorry, that was me.
Okay. I've got a couple. Yes, so I was just looking at the chat while they were there, but no, there's nothing else I can see. No questions in there. So any more questions from anybody? Okay. Right. Well, I think that again, apologies for missing the session, but I'm sure it's been extremely good, and say thank you to all our speakers. Robert, could I ask you maybe to say just a few words in summary, and then we'll do a quick finish off?
Yes, absolutely. And I reiterate my thanks to our three speakers. I think Will's given a very good and very thorough, detailed process, details of the process of application, and Diane and Jonathan told you the effect on companies. I can't emphasize enough how positive it is on all the winners. Most of the winners have said they didn't realize the impact. If I go and talk to them a year or two later, they haven't realized the impact it would have on their business. And has been pointed out, not only on the bottom line, but also on recruitment, on suppliers, and as Jonathan pointed out, on lenders as well. I cannot stress strongly enough that this is probably the pinnacle of all awards anywhere in the world for businesses. So, and the other thing that I would stress is, of course, you do get the chance to go to Buckingham Palace and meet the King, not only members of the royal family. We're there again in June. It's a really enjoyable day, and I have to say, and I'm sure Jonathan and Diane will agree, that the King and previously the Queen do enjoy engaging with the winners. I know last year at Buckingham Palace, the King was supposed to leave at 8 o'clock, and I think they shoved him out at about 20 to 9 because he just couldn't stop talking to people. So it's an amazing experience. That alone is worthwhile. So thank you very much for joining. I look forward to seeing everybody at Brocket Hall for the presentation later on in July. But as I say again, and I'll summarize once again, I'm very proud that Hertfordshire is right at the top of winning these awards, and let's keep it going. Let's be #1 for many years to come. So thank you very much.
Yes, here to that. Thank you very much indeed. I see Jessica's asked a question in the chat, which has been answered by Georgia. All the details for Brocket Hall are on our website, so please do look at that. Any queries that come to Georgia or myself. So I think that really we are coming to the end. So huge thank you to Lord Lieutenant for all your help and support in this. We know that you're fully 100% behind this and really working together on it. My thanks to Will from BEIS, from the King's Awards Office, for your very succinct presentation. And thank you, of course, to Jonathan and Diane, for past winners as well, for your help. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I hope we will see you all. Also, there's one more in the chat. Oh, thank you. I'll see everybody at Brocket Hall on the 18th of July. But any questions in the meantime, 12th September isn't that far away. It'll go very quickly. Do contact us, and we'll do what we can to help. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.